Being super rich makes it way easier. Staying afloat and working a 9 to 5 while trying to clean, cook, work out, and sleep is unrealistic, LMAO.
I think most people think it's too expensive, like it, not so much just from a financial standpoint, but it costs you too much energy and too much bandwidth.
If you have multiple kids, if you're working a job that, you know, you feel stress at and then you don't really have a break, you don't even feel like you have time to go to the gym. I can get how it can feel like a barrier, but the thing is like, many people manage to do it.
How do you think people can kind of reframe their mindset?
A lot of people have been actually getting some equipment for their apartment or their home. That's one thing I've noticed.
I have a slack block. That's like a little balance block.
Yeah.
I also have a slant board that's near my couch.
You know, we talked about this at the beginning of the year. Maybe have a checklist of habits that you're trying to build. Maybe you're trying to build the habit of walking. Maybe you're trying to build the habit of lifting some weight. Because that momentum will build up over time.
And just figure out a way to get yourself moving, whatever will motivate you.
Yeah, stupidity at its finest.
You live and learn, I guess.
Yeah, some of these things that are good for us, they can be hard to digest, you know? And then some things that are like processed, some of them are like quicker to digest. Like, I don't think you're going to fuck yourself up from eating like a Rice Krispie treat. You know what I mean? Like, no. I don't know why, but it's like, it's not going to do anything to your stomach.
Nothing.
It's not going to like rip your guts apart.
No, and then if I were to have
kale, a giant kale salad, you'd be like, oh my God, shit fucking farting all day.
Yeah, but yeah, so like even like a protein bar though, like if I go to bed, like or right before bed, I'm like, oh, I'm so hungry, and I have like 2 protein bars, I'm going to be cramping in the middle of the night. But like if I have like, I don't know, like straight candy, like I might have a hard time falling asleep because it's like a sugar spike or whatever, but my stomach won't be cramping.
Are we pretty much really telling everyone to start eating processed foods and stop eating whole foods? Is that
no,
the goal?
I think if you
today?
get the timing right, you can have processed foods. You know, if you get the timing right. Bodybuilders been doing it for a while, right? With the cereal and stuff like that, and kind of hard candy, right? That's low fat. Get that insulin spike going.
Yeah, Sam Solik will have like an entire box of cereal for like a pre-workout meal, and I think it's working.
He's looking pretty jacked.
Yeah.
I know. We always say to stay away from like ultra processed food, but they seem to like, I don't know, sometimes it seems to digest pretty good.
I have a curious question for you guys. Since Andrew brought up the name Femphilic, rewind. Mark, what was the last thing you just said? I feel like I didn't even pay attention to that last statement you said. And I just went to the Sam Solik. What did you just say?
Processed foods, they digest great.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, they digest really well.
They do. All right.
That was good.
Now to what you mentioned about Femphilic.
Why are you saying it that way?
I don't know, dog.
It's fun.
Today's something else. I saw this video from Too Buff for This. You know the
yeah. That guy's funny.
He is. Maybe we should just pull it up.
So good.
We need to get that guy on the show.
You can go to Too Buff for This page.
I like how he always like has the camera right in his grill.
I fucking love that guy's page, man.
Yeah.
And then he pulls the hat and it's a sensation.
That fucking guy is unbelievable too. He's very, very strong.
Extremely.
I think he deadlifted over 900 pounds, I think.
Oh, is it the
I was laughing at this one.
Oh, that's great.
Damn, I didn't know he had it like that. Good for him. Good for him.
Okay, go down. Down.
But just hold on really quick.
Your 135-pound bench is impressive.
That's pretty great.
So y'all gotta go follow this man. All right, let's see. There's a video. Do you see Sam Solik anywhere?
I like how sometimes he just doesn't even say anything. It's just like the close up of his face.
If he was my son right now, I would be terrified. Every single day, I would be terrified about the path he's going down and even about the things it appears he's doing right now. I would be terrified. So my concerns come from a genuine place because I do not.
You know what? I gotta say it because it's getting annoying to this point. None of y'all care about Sam Solik's health. Y'all are just clout fishing at this point. Athlean X, all these people were just using Sam Solik's name just to, just for some clout, because y'all don't care. If y'all really cared about his health and what he's doing performance-enhancing drugs, you would DM him and say, like, hey, I want to talk about what you're doing, your cycling, etc. But no, we live in a time of social media where we have to be like, oh man, we're going to make a stitch about Sam Solik, that's going to get a bunch of views, a bunch of likes, etc., because because you know his name brings likes and views. So don't pretend like you care about his health. You care about the clout.
If he was
I saw that video. I was like, yo.
Yeah. And then he made that video to get clout.
This one, yeah, it has a bunch of likes, 7,000.
We're all chasing after it. I mean, what are we doing, right? we're all pieces of shit.
All of us.
Yeah. But at least our stomachs are really upset.
And we're gassy.
Yeah.
That's our karma.
I know. That's true. When we gotta just deal with it. We gotta work through it. It's just the way it is sometimes.
Yeah.
Anyway, what the fuck were we talking about?
The UPS guy?
Yeah, the UPS guy.
Oh yeah, what's that all about?
Getting his workouts in during the day, kind of intermittently. Interesting. Let's check it out. You have the clip, or you need it emailed?
Yeah, I didn't get the clip.
Oh, we have you got the notes somewhere, but
Oh, my bad.
but I think it'd be really helpful for a lot of people to start to look at exercise habits as just that. It's just an exercise. It's just a thing that you're going to go do, and it doesn't have to be perfect. You don't have to necessarily do it the exact way that someone instructs you to do it. You can kind of pick and choose your own way to do it. But the cool thing about following somebody or following something that they say is that you're following like a structure or following a plan. And sometimes that makes it easier to integrate into your day-to-day. If you're like, okay, I'm going to do 3 sets of 10 of these curls, 3 sets of 10 of these tricep exercises. For some people, that organization really helps. But I think it would be helpful if people were like, you know what? I'm just going to have this kettlebell in my house. It's going to be outside. It's going to be part of my morning routine. I want to see what this is about. Andrew Huberman, all these people are always talking about going outside, getting some sunlight. You got this 30-pound kettlebell or 20-pound kettlebell that's outside. Squat it. Maybe do some push-ups in between. Just be outside. Maybe walk back and forth a bit. It doesn't have to be complicated or complex, and you don't need to wait. I think a lot of times people are waiting. Like I'm gonna wait until I like learn this, or I'm gonna wait until I get this program. Or I don't think there's any reason to wait. You just select a weight that's comfortable. You won't hurt yourself. I mean, you can hurt yourself doing just about anything, but the odds of you hurting yourself with something really light is really low. And just figure out a way to get yourself moving. Whatever will motivate you to start to incorporate some exercise into your day.
What are some tools that you keep around you? Like you keep around maybe your house. Obviously, this is podcast studio, has a gym, but like what are some things that you keep around?
I have a monolift right next to my bed. No, I'm just kidding. I have a slack block. That's like a little balance block.
Yeah.
And then I also have a slant board that's near my couch. And then other things like they're not really exercise, I don't think, but they are exercise because I end up moving around a lot. I'll just lay on the ground in my bedroom. I have a carpet, and the carpet is it's like kind of softish. So it's really comfortable just to lay down on it. But it's still like a hard ground. So it's got like the benefits of both almost. But getting down on the ground, doing some myofascial release, getting down on the ground, and whenever I do that, I'll also start to do some stretching. I do some stretches on my bed. I found that like might look weird, but I found that it's just been really beneficial because if I go down on the ground and try to stretch, sometimes it's kind of uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And like, I don't know, bugs my knee or bugs this or that. And I'm just such a baby about it sometimes. I'm like, you know what? Why don't I just stretch where it's more comfortable? So I stretch on my couch and I stretch on my bed. And there's lots of different ways I'm getting exercise in during the day. But those are probably like the main ones.
Okay. And those are things, the cool thing is that like, for example, the slant board you mentioned, the slack block you mentioned, some of those tools, I think, anybody who's working a job or they're maybe in an office, you might be the slightly weird one, but those are things that you can keep in your office and you can intermittently do while you're working. Because
I use the roller thing a lot too. The thing that you roll on like your shins and calves. What's that? I forget what the roller 8 or whatever. Roller recovery.
Rogue, the little clampy.
Yeah, we got it off of Rogue. Yeah. But I use that a lot. And actually, when I was using that today, I put my foot up on the couch and I was rolling my calf. And I was like, my foot was resting on the back of the couch. And I didn't even think about it.
Mm-hmm.
And that, for me, that's kind of high. It's not as high as this table, but it's not too much lower than where this table is at. I was like, that's interesting. I just put my leg up pretty high, and it's just for me to roll, to have easier access to roll my calf out. And so now I'm stretching in these positions that are longer than, like, that would have been a stretch for me to do that. Like, that would have actually probably hurt like a year ago. And now things are starting to open up and they're starting to get easier. But we don't really understand or think about these things. When I'm doing that exercise, that is an exercise. Like, I'm wrenching down on my calf and my shin. And while it might not produce some crazy caloric burn, or it's not going to make me necessarily more jacked, it still points on the scoreboard each and every day of kind of getting in some exercise. And I do it before I run, so I'm getting like a great benefit from it, getting the shins and calves warmed up before I go out on my run.
Andrew, by any chance, do you have the email of the quotes? I can maybe read some of them.
And then I found a UPS driver talking about stuff on TikTok. I don't know if that's the one that you're talking about.
Let me
this guy right here, Mark.
Yeah, but I think let's read the quotes first, because this guy, it'll make sense.
Okay.
Yeah, but I think it is that guy.
Yeah, it looks like he had the right clip.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Now, we did an episode with Tom Segura recently, and what I found interesting is, obviously Tom is wealthy, right? He's rich. He wasn't in shape a few years back, but he changed his habits in 2020. He got in shape, right? Now, there's a few comments from people. They also love to take a ton of gear and lie about it. This was about Tom. So keep scrolling down. And then
I would like to mention first that from a financial perspective, I don't know what his situation is, but he's probably been pretty well off for like the last 10 years.
Probably more than that.
Okay.
So I would assume, yeah.
Yeah, so he may have been well off for over a decade, maybe 2 decades. And even with wealth, he was out of shape. So there was some sort of difference, some sort of change that happened. And I know people are like, he's blasting TRT. They want to hop on that. And we can talk about that openly too a bit. I think that's fair game. I think that's fair for people to mention.
Yeah.
But, I just think a lot of times people are just throwing this like money thing out as an excuse, or just, he made some lifestyle changes. People should be pretty pumped about that. It's something to look up to and admire, I think.
That kind of falls in line with this quote from Moog. Nah, being super rich makes it way easier. Staying afloat and working a 9 to 5 while trying to clean, cook, work out, and sleep is unrealistic. LMAO. Okay.
I do think that's a fair point. And that might be like, if you were to ask Tom Segura specifically when things went downhill for him in terms of his health and in terms of maybe his aesthetics, it probably was when he was in the height of his career of trying to really figure himself out in terms of, I don't want to speak for him, but this is what I've seen happen to a lot of people. They are sometimes having children. They are simultaneously trying to figure out their career. They are hungry for those things. They want to do better at those things. And sometimes the last person they help is themselves when it comes to the physicality. I know my cousin did that. My cousin is like the greatest dad ever. Like, he's an amazing family man, amazing father, amazing friend to a lot of people. But he wasn't so friendly to himself. He wasn't great to himself. He poured so much into his kids with his work and his schedule and everything that I just think he wasn't thinking about himself in terms of what he could do for his own physicality, his own body, his own health overall. I think most people think it's too expensive, like it, not so much just from a financial standpoint, but it costs you too much energy and too much bandwidth to eat better and to make better decisions. But it's probably easier for us to say now that we're on the other side of this thing.
Yeah.
But we know the impact that it has and how good it feels. And I would say, with my cousin Steven, that if he was here, he would probably mention it and he would probably agree. If he was able to hold it down, if he was able to hold it together, was able to eat a little bit better and have some habits, because really his only problem was that he would overeat. He was extremely active, and lazy is not a word that would ever use to describe this guy. He was up at 4 o'clock every day, going to bed at probably 11 o'clock every day. I mean, he works very, very hard, so he's not lazy. it just sabotaged himself with food. The food and the stress went hand in hand. But how much easier would that that stress have been if he eaten better the whole time? And so I do think things do unravel for a lot of people as they're trying to build up their career and their family and those things. It's very common. Andrew, you have a 2-year-old and you're starting to see other dads and other people around, and they have 2, 3, 4-year-old kids, stuff like that. A lot of times that's right when people start to kind of fall apart. That's right when people start to add weight. So this guy kind of pointing to the fact that like it can be really difficult during those times, I think is a fair statement. It can be really difficult at those times, but it doesn't mean that you can't do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I kind of take pride in being able to be a father that can get down on the ground and roll around with my 2-year-old son. And as far as like, you were asking Mark, like, what are the things that he has around the house, to help stay active and stuff? It's like, well, should I have my son? It's really hard to just take a break with a 2-year-old that's
Be
jumping.
honest though, are you tapping him out every once in a while?
Just to remind
He
him,
is, isn't he?
just to let him know,
Let him know what's up.
you keep giving up your back, and this is what happens.
Gonna be a price to pay, son.
There is a price to pay for these, actions.
Poor little guy.
12 years from now, you're going to wake up. You're going to take 2 steps, put your feet on the ground, and suddenly there's going to be an elbow around your neck.
So that's why I'm like, telling you, and I was telling my wife, I'm like, yeah, I got to get a black belt, because by the time this kid is 15, he's going to beat the shit out of me. Like all this stuff I'm doing to him, he's going to be like, hey, I never forgot. Like I was 2 years old, but I remember the first time you put me out. Like, oh no, good thing I'm a black belt, and do it again.
Yeah.
Yeah. You didn't read this one yet, though.
Oh, yeah. All you need are steroids, a personal trainer, a home gym, a nutritionist, and even accrued wealth to no longer need to work. That and a little bit of hustle is all you need.
That's it.
Damn.
The thing I don't get is like, I can see a lot of this being a barrier for some people. If you have multiple kids, if you're working a job that, you feel stress at, and then you don't really have a break, you don't even feel that you have time to go to the gym. I can get how it can feel like a barrier, but the thing is like many people manage to do it. Many people manage to stay in shape, and it's partially a big aspect of it is the choices you make with the food that you eat, because it's like you can eat processed foods, a lot of them that are hyperpalatable, that you can eat a lot of, and it may make you feel a bit better because it's sweet or whatever, but at the end of the day, that's messing with your health. And it does come down to a choice. Sometimes those choices are harder because for a lot of people, that food brings them a level of pleasure that they may not feel in other aspects of their life. And I understand it, but again, it's not just wealthy people who are in shape. There are many unhealthy, wealthy people, and there are many in shape people who don't make much money.
I remember Rich Froning going to the CrossFit Games, and I think he already won once or twice. So from a financial standpoint, he was probably fine at that point. But he was like building and raising a family along with a business. And I think at that point he had 2 kids, and his wife had he was holding one kid like on his lap, and then his wife has like the baby, like a baby, and he's heading to the CrossFit Games.
Dude, no.
And everyone's just got this to say and that to say, and it just wasn't even a contest. He won. The CrossFit Games goes on for like 3 days. I think it was going into Sunday, and it was already over. He already won. He didn't even have to really do the last couple events because he smoked everybody so bad.
Damn.
And so, I mean, you hear these stories all the time of like things being bad for people at certain times, but they don't always have to be. I mean, even in times of like where the market or something, the economy has been like awful, it doesn't mean that everyone doesn't fail at that time. Sometimes people are able to excel. They're able to think maybe a little differently. So I think sometimes some of these guys might just be fucking around. Tom Segura is a comedian, so some of these guys might just be throwing some shit at him for whatever reason. But I think just a little shift in your mindset and understanding that just because you don't have that much money and just because you don't feel like you have much going for you, and maybe that's the real underlying problem, is that you need to feel a little bit better about yourself. So if you start to do things that help you to feel better about yourself, you build confidence over time, you should be able to stick to the habits that are continuing to help you to grow and help you to expand. And those things would be regardless of money. We see it all the time with athletes that are involved in sports where there's not money involved. You know, I just watched a Kurt Angle documentary, and in that documentary, he seemed to be like grateful that there was no money in the sport. He's like, this is the greatest sport in the world. This is the toughest sport in the world. And he's like, I love it. He's like, we might not get the big paychecks like the NFL guys. He's like, but we get something different. And I was just like, wow, like I kind of almost wonder more about that statement, like what he means. But I also kind of get it because I was in a sport that had no money too.
Yeah. And then, so like, this is like very unfair, but like when people win like the lottery, they don't all of a sudden get in shape. And I understand they don't care, but now all of a sudden they're super wealthy. So when somebody doesn't have the habits, now all of a sudden the shitty McDonald's meal or whatever, like you're like, that's easy to avoid because now you're getting like 5-star meals. You know what I mean? Like you have more options to have way better food. So like if somebody is rich, it's still hard for them to avoid some of these yummy foods because now it's like, you're not getting the fucking drive-through meal. You're getting like a chef-prepared meal, right? Or whatever it may be. But it's still the same thing. You still have to say no to like the extra stuff.
Yeah.
So it's a different battle. It's a battle I'd rather be facing also. But it's still a battle. So it's not like, oh, you make money all of a sudden, poof. Like you have these super strict habits ingrained in you and everything becomes super easy all of a sudden.
You bring up a good point because a lot of times people say, if I had that kind of money, I would just be hanging on the beach doing nothing. I would just be chilling. Like I wouldn't be like Hugh Jackman going in the gym and getting after it with deadlifts. Or if I had money, I wouldn't be like Elon Musk trying to build more businesses. And these people, they just have these habits. They're not going to like just shut them off because of their finances or because of their circumstances. You know, I think a lot of times we think that these circumstances completely prevent you from doing certain things, and I don't think that they do.
Yeah, Andrew, can you go up to that comment again though? This one from Spaghetti Pipes though. It's like the thing that's kind of odd though, when someone does say something like this, it's the fact that you are now setting up barriers for yourself. Because if your belief is that the only reason this person is the way they are, it's because they were wealthy and they had a nutritionist and a home gym and this and that, and that's why you personally believe they were able to do what they did, that means that you think that if you have that, you're going to be able to get in shape. And now the only time you're going to get in shape is when you're wealthy, you have a nutritionist, you have a home gym, you have a trainer, and that's when you're going to get in shape. So right now you can do nothing about your circumstances because you don't have that, and you're going to be like, why would you do that to yourself? It's unfortunate. It's just a really unfortunate thought process, but you've quite literally already put up like 8 barriers for between you and the goal you want because you believe that you need all these things to get there.
Right. And if you're out of shape and feel like you're, 50, 60 pounds overweight, could you work your way towards being less fat? You know, could you work on being like 30 pounds overweight instead of 60? Like, I think, as you're pointing out, you don't need everything to be perfect in order to change your circumstances slightly. And if you think about the things that will get better if you're healthier, it's usually everything. You know, I think one of the things is it's just really, it's talked about a bit. People talk about like stoicism, and they talk about, how important it is to kind of work on some of these things and gain these abilities with your mind and your ability to reinterpret the stuff that comes at you each and every day, and to maybe not, just because something may have been a stressor in the past, and it may have resulted in some negative outcomes for you because you were associating negativity with it. It doesn't mean that you can't work on changing that. And if you work on changing that along with working on your body, you're going to get yourself into a spot where things that happen day in and day out, they just like wash off your back. Like they're not a big deal. They're just not. You hear, your wife says something about one of her friends who's a pain in the ass or whatever, or you hear someone starting, and you just kind of notice it registers in your head, and you're like, I don't really care. That just doesn't. I mean, it's not like you're not listening to the person that's talking, but you're like, you're viewing it differently. You're like, this is kind of just a negative. I'm not going to jump on this pile. The play is already over. You know, there's no reason for me to really have much of an opinion on this. And you start to work your way through. It's not even so much about thinking more positively all the time. It's just that you just think like whoosh, like just straight across the board. You're not really negative or positive too much. And that's been super helpful for me over the years. And I think that when I see comments like this, I kind of think, oh man, it kind of sucks because I think that some of these people are like in pain, like they're locked into a certain mindset, and they haven't been able to graduate to that next mindset yet, to where they're able to take things on in life a lot easier. I was mentioning to you, Andrew, like a couple of weeks ago, like the ability to sprawl against stuff that's trying to take you down, you know, or your perceived things that are trying to take you down. Mm-hmm. What a cool ability that is. You don't literally have to learn how to fight or learn how to wrestle, although that might solve some problems for you. But your ability to kind of keep your hands up at all time and be able to protect yourself and have things that are happening in the world not register as negative, not register as stressful. When I see the negative comments, I'm thinking, oh man, it kind of sucks, because a lot of things are probably still registering for this person as negative, and their life's probably like uptight, probably don't feel great about what they're doing, and they probably feel kind of locked into this mindset that's not allowing them to grow.
You just caused a few guys in the audience to probably have like a dry spell for the next 3 weeks, because they're going to be in some like conversation with their woman, and she's going to be complaining, and then you're going to pop in their head like, don't care. And they're like, I don't care. No pussy for a month.
Yeah,
there
just
you
don't
go.
say it out loud.
Shit.
Yeah, just don't say it out loud.
Oh God. Or say it out loud. Have some balls, man.
That's right.
Lay them on the table. So you're working out, you're working on your nutrition, you're working on your feet, you're working on your sleep, and all these things are having benefit. But what's going on underneath the hood? What's going on with your hormones? That question is answered by working with Merrick Health. It's owned by Derek from More Plates, More Dates. And getting your blood work done by Merrick Health will help you understand what's going on under the hood. They have different panels that you can do once every 6 months or every single month, so you can understand how your sleep, all these different protocols that you're adding into your routine are affecting your hormones. It's important to understand, and it's also important to know if what you're doing is actually working. Andrew, how can they get their hands on it?
Yes, that's over at merrickhealth.com/powerproject. And at checkout, enter promo code POWERPROJECT to save 10% off the Power Project panel, the checkup panel, or any individual lab that you select. Again, that's at merrickhealth.com/powerproject. Promo code POWERPROJECT at checkout. Links in the description, as well as the podcast show notes.
Well, I think, it's, again, when we're thinking about these things and we're thinking about people that have certain types of jobs and things like that, there's just so many ways to incorporate it. And I know sometimes it can sound ridiculous, but Casey, who works in our warehouse, he built a giant step, because he's like, that's one step up every time I go from, putting labels on stuff in the warehouse back to my computer. So he has like a step up, basically. It's probably 14, 16 inches high. So he's got to flex his hip every time, hip flex or flex, and then put his foot on top of the box and take a step up there every single time. And he was even saying, like, he's like, I try to do it with different legs, but sometimes, I favor my dominant leg or whatever.
You can get that from Amazon too, probably.
You're right. You can figure out ways to kind of have your own versions of these things. He also will sometimes put on a weighted vest just because of all the steps that he's getting in during the day, to just add a little weight, add a little resistance to what he's already doing.
Yeah. And honestly, like you can't do things like everybody at this point, because that's shown to not work. If you do work in a job where you're forced to be sedentary for a majority of the time, majority of those people don't feel good. So the fact is that you do have to be the weird person in the office if you want to be able to work yourself out of the situations that a lot of these other people around they're gonna be in. You got to be that guy or girl. It's just the fact of the matter.
You could start to have, there's all kinds of practices that you can have, but I found it like this Morpheus app has been so transformative to me. It's not even, the app doesn't even suggest like meditation or anything, but I'm just like, well, when I get my HRV tested through this app that I have. I'm like, I should be like more calm. I'm like doing it on my way to run, or I'm doing it while I'm walking. And I'm like, this isn't a good way to kind of check my health and check my heart rate. So I usually, I'll lay down and I put my feet up, like up against the wall or on my couch or something like that. Takes 2.5 minutes. And in that 2.5 minutes, almost every single time I almost fall asleep.
Damn.
It's just really like restorative for me. So like there's people that don't like exercise. Can you take a couple minutes and just, you don't need the fancy app. That's not the point. People are like, Morpheus, I need to get the app. Now I can't do it without the app. No, the point is put on some sleepy music and if you have to, lay down in your office, put your feet up on your chair, be weird. 3 minutes later, you're going to feel restored. Maybe you'll feel a little groggy, but it's something that you can now get used to. And would that help someone have a better body? I actually think that it would. I think if you can start to decompress and get yourself away from stress, when you are in stressful situations, you're going to be less likely to go off the rails because you're going to feel better. And so to me, it's about feeling better and about feeling energized. And so even something that simple, which doesn't even require any exercise, it's just a like kind of a mind practice. It's a practice of stillness for a moment. And there's people listening right now who are like, I can't do that. Then they didn't even try it.
I have a game for both of you guys. I want you guys to ninja me and combat my excuse. Well, you know, it's because he's on TRT. You guys are on TRT, so you have energy and you can be in shape. I'm just not on TRT. That's what I need. Well, what up? What you got for me? Both of y'all, what you got for me?
Well, there is a story of two comedians, and one of them went on TRT and made great progress, and the other one didn't. I would say that the introduction of performance enhancing drugs and the introduction of like testosterone, all those things, they sound great, but again, if you don't have your habits together, you're not really going to get anywhere. Someone could potentially, like if they have a little bit of a habit of lifting, they could take some TRT and they could notice that they gain like 4 or 5 pounds of muscle. That is actually a big deal. Like that's actually huge. Testosterone can also help with motivation. So I'm not going to deny those factors as well. But again, you still need, so that might happen at first, but then we get into the same situation we always get into, and the same thing that I always say, and then what? So we played this card, this little motivation card. We played this game, and now we get a little boost. We gain 4 or 5 pounds of muscle, maybe over the next 6 months. Our motivation is up a little bit, but now we're in the winter time. The sun's not out as much. It's rainy, it's snowy, and we're just left with our own thoughts. We're left with our own habits. And as far as I know, there's not really a drug that will really help a ton with that. So I think that people they need to stop putting so much weight on TRT. If it's something that you really think is massively beneficial to other people and you think you need to get your blood work done, then go ahead and look into it. But I've seen a lot of people get on TRT. I've seen a lot of people just straight up go on steroids and even abuse performance enhancing drugs and really not look, they certainly haven't looked better. I'll say it that way.
Yeah, recently, I mean, so I have my prescription. I ran out of that prescription and I stumbled upon a different bottle that was not from my prescribing doctor. Allegedly, potentially, possibly, this is what happened. And that dosage was a little bit higher than what I was used to, but I wasn't.
Exciting.
Yeah, I wasn't really paying attention. Sorry, being a rookie at this. And then all of a sudden, I'm like, dude, I keep waking up heavier. Like, what is going on here? I've never weighed 186 pounds and been like in pretty decent shape. You know, I have all the same habits, nothing changed except for switching to this other vial. It's like, dude, what's going on? I got my lab work done because I'm like, dude, this is weird. I'm even eating less. I started tracking again and I'm like, I'm eating so much less and I keep gaining. What the hell is happening here?
Like gaining in a good way?
Not really.
Okay.
I was super bloated. I was like watery. I felt kind of gross. Got my levels checked. Dude, I was like at 2,500 on the total test or whatever. It's like, what the holy shit. The
high normal's like 1,200.
correct, and that's where I was at. So I was really, really freaking high. I felt terrible. I was, like I said, I was feeling like all super bloated, and I couldn't keep my weight down. It felt weird. Like I didn't look good at all. Switch back to my regular prescribed stuff, and everything's kind of back to normal. So I'm back at like 181 pounds, feeling way better, even though I currently feel sick. But what I'm getting at is, like, even if I were to, quote, get on a lot more steroids or whatever, like, it didn't help me at all. Like, I felt worse, and I started gaining the wrong weight. Maybe if I had switched over to like lifting heavy or did something else, it could have been like, oh shit, like, damn, Andrew's looking really thick right now. Like, this is awesome. But that was not the case. Yeah, no, that was not it at all. Like, so, I mean, hopefully that helps a little bit. Maybe that just like helps cement someone else's argument, but I'm just explaining my experience. More was so much less. Like, I do not ever want to feel that way again. It sucked.
I also think that people in general feel like shit because of what they aren't and because of what they don't have. And that is a practice that you need to fucking work on really hard. As a young man, it's really easy to look over here and over there. And I'm going to be better when I move here. I'm going to be better when I do this. I'm going to be better when I have this car. If I had the circumstances of that guy, I would be just as wealthy. I'd be just as ripped. I'd be just as this, just as that. That's really damaging. Really, really damaging. And more so than damaging, it's just limiting. So it's something that people need to work on. I think it's where most people's anxiety comes from. It's just hidden in this thing of you're not what you want to be yet. Well, okay, why don't you fucking work on it? Like, how can you work on it? And then you start saying like that, everybody else is on steroids, but if you're not going to do those, then why are you bringing those up? Like, if that's not an option for you, if that's not something that you're going to do, oh, this guy's only better than me because he has a lot of money. Well, what's your access to money right now? Do you have access to more? If you don't have access to more money, then it's not anything that you can't really be too worried or concerned about it. Obviously, it could be something that you can work on building towards, because money has a great convenience. TRT can be a great convenience for some people, that especially people that need it. But these conveniences aren't things to really, they're not. You don't have access to them. There's no reason to really put a lot of thought and energy into them, because they're things that you don't have, and they're things that you won't have for a while. And especially with that attitude, you'll never have them.
How do you think people can kind of reframe their mindset? Because if somebody's unhappy with something, we'll just even say with the way they look, they're upset. They had to go to work today, and they're just feeling like shit. Like, damn it, I want ice cream because I want something to make me feel good. How can they flip that around to being like, I'm gonna go for a walk, and that's gonna make me feel good?
I think being reasonable and being rational is a really key factor. What have you done? What have you done lately? What have you done for yourself? What have you addressed this? Have you addressed this situation? Like, man, this sucks. I'm 50 pounds overweight. What have you done? Like, have you done something about it? And just try to be really honest. Have I stuck to this diet for more than 3 days, 7 days, 3 weeks, 3 months? If you have, and you're looking at yourself and you're like, man, like, I lost 50 pounds and this still sucks. I'm still not happy, then you have to start to you got to look at the bright side in a way. That's where you're going to have to say, well, look, man, you look way better than you did 2 years ago. You're in way better shape than you were 2 years ago. You made a lot of progress from where you were in the past. And then you have to think about, where else are you making progress? Are you making progress in other areas of your life other than just that? Because the weight loss journey is just one little chunk of the whole thing. And I think that people get caught up in the weight loss journey, but you have to also be making progress in other areas of your life, because if you don't, whenever you think this weight loss journey is like ending, then you'll probably go back to a lot of your other habits, unless you feel good about yourself in a more well-rounded way.
If you have knee pain or lower back pain, the initial thought is that it's probably coming from the knee or the lower back. But have you ever thought that it could actually be coming from your feet? Most people wear shoes like this. They are narrow, they are not flat, they are inflexible. So it's almost like your feet are stuck in casts all day long. And if you imagine that your hand was stuck in a cast all day, well, your fingers are going to become weak, but then your elbows might start feeling a little bit wonky because your fingers don't move, and then it might travel up your shoulder. That's the same thing that happens with your feet when you put them in normal, inflexible shoes. That's why you want to throw those out and start using some Vivo barefoot shoes. They have shoes for hiking on their website, working out in the gym. They have casual shoes like these Novices right here. But the difference with Vivo is that they have a wide toe box so that your feet, like my wide ass feet, can spread and move within the shoe. They're flat so that your feet are doing the work when you're walking, and they are flexible so your feet have the freedom to move the way they need to move so that they can be strong feet. That's why you want to get yourself some of these. And Andrew, how can they get it?
Yes, that's over at vivobarefoot.com/powerproject. When you guys get there, you'll see a code across the top. Make sure you enter that code at checkout for 15% off your entire order. Again, that's at vivobarefoot.com/powerproject. Links in the description as well as the podcast show notes.
Guys, look at this.
Ooh, look at that
I could
bend.
stick that in my mouth.
Do it.
I'm not going to do
Come
it.
on.
That's disgusting.
Okay.
No. Get him. Before we play this clip,
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember this, but also I think like from the "What have you done for me lately" thing, just like, you know, we talked about this in the beginning of the year. Maybe have a checklist of habits that you're trying to build. Maybe you're trying to build the habit of walking. Maybe you're trying to build the habit of lifting some weight. So if you can just have a checklist of, okay, today did I take two 10-minute walks or 3 10-minute walks? Did I actually do this? If not, did I lift some weight for a few minutes? Can you make a checklist of just simple things that you know you want to be able to do that the people that you pay attention to are doing? Did you sit in a squat at some point today, or did you mobilize yourself at some point? Did you do any type of myofascial release? Just have this as a checklist and just try to get through some of this, even if it's doing some myofascial release for 1 minute. Do it, because that's like, okay, I did it, and then tomorrow, or you'll probably do it for a little bit longer than a minute, but at least you have some momentum, rather than like, you have the things that make you feel happy, like the ice cream, right? But you're not paying attention to the things that you know are going to move you forward. So try to have some things that are just like, because that momentum will build up over time. As you do these things more and more, you'll do a little bit more walking. You'll lift a little bit longer. You'll do these things a bit more. It'll be easier.
You got to be accepting of the fact that you're going to lose.
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to fail.
Yeah.
Before you become a Masters world champion.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Come in second a couple times, and it sucks. Doesn't make you feel great, but you keep working on it and you try to figure out the puzzle.
This clip, this is too good. Let's play the whole thing, but.
Got to be careful. You got to have a J.O.B. in the 80s. You got to have some money. Got to have some money. You can't get no pussy. Listen to the radio. That's what it's about. Listen to Madonna. I'm a material girl in a material world. You ain't got no money. You can't have no pussy. Basically what it is. It's a song out now called Got to Have a J.O.B. if you want to be with me. In lyrics, ain't nothing going on but the rent. Like if you went up and said, hey, babe, what's going on? The rent, motherfucker. You have a job? I to get the fuck out of my face.
That's so
Gotta
good.
have some money. It says no romance without finance. And women love them songs. They go, gotta have a J.O.B.
No romance without the finance.
Janet Jackson got a hit record.
It'll
What
get
have you
there,
done
Andrew.
for me lately? That's what they be thinking. What have you done for me lately? The record start off like that. I know he used to do shit for you, but what have he done for you lately? Baby, I love you. What have you done for me lately? You the only thing on my mind. What have you done for me lately? We make good love. What have you done for me lately? Got to have some money to get some pussy in the 80s.
That's amazing.
And in 2023 as well.
Yep, that's true.
Do you know which one this one's from by any chance?
Might be Raw.
Okay.
Oh yeah, Raw. Eddie Murphy Raw. Damn. I saw that shit as a kid, man. That was so good. Delirious was also very, very good.
I wasn't the right age to watch any of that. It changed my world.
You saw it when you were young too?
Oh yeah. I was probably like 9 or something.
He was so
Like
good,
understanding some stuff, but definitely not understanding most of it.
Yeah, I remember being a kid watching like stand up and just like kind of looking around like I don't get it. And then like my sister was like, when you get older, like you'll understand.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then you just laugh because like you're embarrassed that you don't understand it. And they're like, people are like, you don't understand what's going on. And you're like, I get it.
Yeah.
They're like, no, you don't. Yeah, I do.
Oh man.
Yeah, being the youngest in the family, had to do that a lot.
Do you have the UPS thing?
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Oops.
Let's see.
Oopsie.
Is this the guy? Hold on. Dude, I'm not a fan of TikTok, man. There we go. Okay. Where'd he go?
Looks like he was at
Oh, there it is.
there we go.
Let's do this. Oh, you suck.
Excuse me. I have a TikTok and I ask people who are in really good shape what they do for their workouts. Do you mind if I ask you? You're ripped.
I don't do weights. It's calisthenics. Pull-ups.
Pull-ups.
Dips. Push-ups. Keep going.
How many miles do you walk a day? We
He's
do
so
it.
intense.
Probably like 60 miles.
Really? How many pull-ups can you do?
Oh my God. Honestly, true, real men, they don't count.
Really?
I just go pow, 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 pow. And then once I'm in pain,
Yeah.
that's when I be like,
You
How
can
about
do
muscle
30
ups?
muscle-ups?
Damn.
Come on, let's find some scaffolding.
we can do. I try both. Weights and calisthenics.
Yeah.
Weights, you look chubby, strong.
Yeah.
But you cannot do a sport.
Yeah.
I did it one time. I feel more athletic. I can jump more.
I did it one
I
time.
can run more.
Yeah.
Everything.
I'm with you.
My stamina is more, so I can go.
Yeah.
I think he's talking about fucking.
Yeah.
Right?
So.
And I always, it's not like, nah, go forward.
Yeah. You go all day long.
All day,
How-
more power.
Awesome,
A lot
man.
of people pull up.
I know.
CrossFitters?
Yeah.
Why does he keep thrusting?
Go like,
Yeah.
I call it the clock.
Yeah. Yeah.
Steady.
I like it.
This guy interviewed the wrong guy, you know?
Steady.
so.
The clock.
I like it, brother.
Does he actually do a
30
pull-up, though?
seconds.
No.
Press.
Yeah.
And then you go back. It's
Awesome.
going to be high on the beginning, but later on,
Yeah. Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Hey,
I think that guy's full of shit.
Ew, what?
Yeah, a little bit, probably.
Yeah.
Look at him. He's jacked.
He's,
though.
no, I'm just, dude, like the way he was speaking, I don't know, man.
Yeah, and then he started talking about like muscle ups out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Hey,
And then he said how many. He's like, I don't count.
until it gets hard.
But he still didn't say how many.
Yeah. Look at him, though. I
In
don't
good-
think he's full of
He's
shit.
in good shape. But,
He's in great shape. He's in great shape.
but I'm like, he might not even work for UPS even, like, I think he's full of shit.
You guys know a lot of guys that I mean, I don't want to say just go to jujitsu because that's a huge commitment and that takes a lot of time. But you guys know people that are practicing jujitsu and they're in great shape and they maybe aren't going to the gym and spending a lot of extra hours doing stuff.
I know a few. Like I know.
I mean,
a few,
it's always helpful to have more of a regimen or something, but
but the guys that I know that are like, I go to jiu-jitsu and first off, they're good rounds, but they're keeping things together. They're also people who tend to like pay attention to things outside of the gym. Like they do some sort of strength training. They're not purely jiu-jitsu. And then the really good jiu-jitsu guys I know are doing stuff in the gym. So even the jiu-jitsu people that are hobbyists, that they're good, and their bodies kept together, they're doing some strength training.
and even the guys that have more regular jobs, right? Like they're still figuring out time for the gym. They're still figuring out time on the mat.
A lot of people have been actually getting some equipment for their apartment or their home. That's one thing I've noticed. Like a lot of guys end up getting some things to keep at home. Some people still go to the gym, don't get me wrong, but it's like if things get really busy, it is good to have a few pieces that you have at home that you can just do.
The sport, I think, would be great for people to try to take up, whatever, or just some sort of, maybe not even necessarily like a full-on sport, but like some sort of activity. Because if you have an activity, even if you're just like casually riding a bike twice a week or so, I would say that could cut back drastically on the amount of time that you need to spend in the gym.
Oh, yeah.
And if you're going to jujitsu, I know our boy Smokey was going like once a week. I think he got more into it recently, where he's going more. But like sometimes people can't make the commitment to go maybe as many times as the next person, or they don't want to spend time on something new in the same way somebody else does. But whatever way you got to figure it out, I think there are ways to where you don't necessarily need to spend nearly as much time in the gym. And we've seen examples of this over the years. There's obviously the Mike O'Hearns, there's the people that love fitness, and there's people that spend hours in there. I still love it. I always will. But I've shortened up my workouts considerably because I run now. So it's like, running is a huge part of it. But I do think the outsiders that are looking in and they're like, man, this fitness thing seems like a big commitment. They're right. It is a big commitment, but you don't have to start out with hours and hours of training. You could start out with doing 10 minutes each day until you get used to it more. And then over time, you might be able to make more time for something. But that's been Joel Green's kind of whole mission, is to communicate with people that he doesn't feel like you need to spend hours in the gym. And I would agree. And I think that it's easy to kind of think of it that way. But if you are to, another thing that will allow you to not train nearly as much is just to eat better. Oh, if you can change your habits and eat less, then there's less time you got to work on trying to work some of those calories off. I think some people, they enjoy food a lot, and so they lift. And the two go together pretty nicely. Like I like to overeat. I like to eat like a pretty big meal. And if it wasn't for lifting, then I'd probably be pretty fat, because I like that feeling of not totally like busting and like gonna die, but I like to fill up pretty good.
I like to bust. Has there been
where you're totally impaired? You're like laying on the ground. You're like, oh my God.
Oh my God. I feel like I can clearly remember a time of my life in my early 20s when like I still loved like lifting, but I definitely lifted to eat. Like it was like I was like, oh, this is going to be a good workout, but the big thing I was thinking about was just the disgustingly huge meal I'd be eating later.
Food afterwards.
Yeah. And then the Ben and Jerry's pint, right?
I had my Pop-Tart post the other day. You can pull that up on my Instagram. Eating that Pop-Tart in between the sets.
That was a good one.
I was in great shape then.
Yeah, it's a peak Mark Bell.
Just round.
Yo, dog, you're so fucking round.
Just round, big ass round face.
You fucking stuff 2 fingers in between like your cheek fat.
This is the way you fell in love with me, though.
Yeah, I guess
these fluffier weights.
I guess it fucking is. Why is there no sound? The audio is the best part.
Okay, let me restart it. Wait, let's see here. Where'd it go?
Oh, you can't miss it.
Right. Let's see here. Boom.
Got to keep the glucose levels elevated during training. That's why I eat Pop-Tarts in between my sets. Get me in an anabolic state. And also keep me at a catabolic state.
What flavor is that Pop-Tart? Is it brown sugar?
I think so. Yeah, I think so.
It's gotta be.
Yo, brown sugar was the best. S'mores was also pretty decent.
What's funny is at the time I didn't really eat Pop-Tarts that often, but I ate a lot of other junk.
Why did
you were eating something?
Oh yeah. Oh, I don't know what happened. I just got fat.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. That's what everybody always says. I'm not sure what happened.
Do you think? Okay, you didn't eat Pop-Tarts. Did you choose the Pop-Tart because maybe at the time, IFYM was going crazy?
I think, yeah.
Everybody's like Pop-Tarts.
Yeah, it was like 13 years ago or something. So yeah, it was kind of falling in line with some of that.
Good. Pat Project family, we love beef on this podcast. We talk about it a lot. All right, we love our meat. But sometimes eating the same meat all the time can get a little bit boring. That's why we partner with Good Life Proteins, which also has certified Piedmontese on their website. But sometimes you might just want to eat some chicken or fish or duck. Duck. Who eats duck? But you can eat duck. That's why if you go to goodlifeproteins.com, you can select their Build-A-Box options and input all the proteins you want. Then you'll select subscribe and save to save money on all of your meat. If you enter code PowerProject at checkout, you can save up to 25% on your subscription. That means you're going to be saving 25% on all of that different meat that's going to be heading to your door. Once again, head to goodlifeproteins.com. You can enter code PowerProject and save up to 25%. Links are in the description box below, as well as the podcast show notes.
What do you guys think are some habits that are like easy for people to adopt? Some of these people that are maybe just thinking like, some of this is out of my price range and some of this is like out of my time. Like rather than like just getting mad at some people, like, what do you think are some actionable things that someone can do, and maybe do so with a reasonable amount of time and just a amount of money that's not overly expensive?
I think the biggest thing, because like the overarching theme is like microdosing stuff. So whatever areas that you tend to spend most of your time, those areas maybe being some at home, and if you're able, some at work, keep things around that you can get yourself moving on. You mentioned a slant board. There's like, you could get yourself a step thing on Amazon. You can get yourself a little kettlebell to keep somewhere. Fuck, you could get yourself a cheap bamboo stick, or the stick thing we have from Stick Mobility in the gym. So you can just things, keep those things in your area so you can build the habit of just moving more. Because one thing that all of us do is our workout, or the times that we move, isn't only in the gym. It's all day long, because we always have stuff in our close vicinity. And the thing is like, you're most likely to take action on something if it's there, if it's visual, if you can see it. But if it's your workout stuff's hidden away in another room that you never go to, you're not going to touch it. Yeah. So that's one thing.
Punching bag, like you might be able to get like a used punching bag for a really inexpensive price. You might be able to get some like a used, I see like assault bikes. People are always selling those kind of bikes. And I mean, I've heard people tell me before they gotten those things for like $40-$50. That's unbelievable. And there's something that you can get to right away.
Yeah. I was going to say, like the treadmill that turns into the clothes hanger. That's the meme. Like everybody's like, they get the treadmill, but all it does is just hold the clothes.
Yeah, it just sits there.
Yeah. This not too exciting, but it's like a habit stack. But just eating, after you eat, going for a 10-minute walk. Because it's going to develop the habit of walking itself, but like the benefits you get after eating, what's that medication, metformin? Whatever?
Yeah. They compared a study with metformin versus a 10-minute walk after your food, and it was comparable.
Right. So it's like, okay, imagine having the power or the benefits of a medication that's going to help you digest this food, but you get it naturally. And on top of that, you might potentially be getting some sun, and you're getting some steps in. And, we just had Tom Walters on talking about how good he feels after getting steps in. And when he doesn't, he kind of just feels a little bit, like his back's a little bit tighter. So again, like it's like you kind of get like a 2-for-1 there. You're going to get the benefits of the digestion plus the benefits of getting extra steps.
I also want to say, I want to echo that same thing. Whenever I feel a little something in my lower back or whatever, I can typically like link it back to, okay, go walk for a while. Because when I walk for a while and then I come back home, I feel good. So like, this isn't, I find it so,
Most people are thinking of going to the doctor when something hurts, right?
Right, yeah. And I just find that I was just so stupid in my early 20s because I really just underestimated the power of walking, where it's like, you have to, like you should, it shouldn't be, that should be something that you 100% do every single day. Get some good walks in.
Some myofascial release, simple, easy, get a lacrosse ball, go on, check out the stuff from Jill Miller, yoga tune-up, right? Get those balls, grab her book. Not everything has to be like so exercise heavy. If you haven't really done much in a while and you get down on the ground and you start just trying to practice some myofascial release, you'd probably be kind of sweating after you do it for a few minutes. You got to position your body very particular ways and probably burn more calories than you might think in just doing something that easy. I think the last thing I'll finish with is just like, I think it's important for people to understand you're not always going to win. It's not going to always feel like you're winning. Like walking is not so much work, and it doesn't do so much. And there's also, there's really nothing physically that you can do in a particular day that's going to really make a significant change. Maybe if you're super lean and you go on a run, you get dehydrated, you look different after you run. But with that exception aside, there's not going to be something you're going to do and you're going to look in the mirror the next day, or even sometimes handfuls of days later, where it's having some real significant change. It's going to take weeks, it's going to take months, and sometimes it's going to be really frustrating. Sometimes you're going to say to yourself, like, man, I was doing better like 3 months ago, I think. But whatever position you're in, that's the position that you're in. And in football, there was Bill Parcells. He said, you are what your record is. Like that's it. You can't say it's because we fumbled. You can't say it's because our quarterback hurts or is hurt. You're 5-5 and that's your fucking record. Like that's just the way it is. So at the moment, you might not be what you want to be. You might not be in the position that you want to be in, but you can get there. And if you start to microdose these habits into your life, you start doing 5 push-ups every morning, every afternoon, and every time at dinner. Maybe those 5 push-ups turn into 10. Maybe they turn into 20. Maybe they turn into 30. Maybe you do 100 push-ups every single day. And over time, people are going to be like, hey, man, what are you doing? Like, you look different. But it's going to take time. It's going to take, unfortunately, it just takes a lot of time. And so it's important that you stick to the things that are going to move the needle for you, and stick to the things that are going to make you better. Strength is never weakness. Weakness is never strength. Catch you guys later. Bye.
So if you do want to see an episode of somebody who got in shape just because they're rich and wealthy and have a personal trainer and have a nutritionist, check out this episode with Tom Segura. Also, he also got in shape because he's on TRT. Yeah, it's right there. Click it. So you can become unmotivated and realize that there's nothing you'll be able to do unless you have more than $3 million in the bank. Probably more like 10, right? Poor. I'm fucking with you.